Savvy Business Radio, drawing out the best from our guests with our host, Christina Nichman. Savvy Business Radio broadcasts worldwide via a large podcast network, celebrating business owners, entrepreneurs, influencers, and successful individuals. Find out about our paid sponsorship opportunities or how to become a guest. Call 732-474-7375 or email Christina at savvybusinessradio.com.
Our guest today is Alain Moussi, making his unbelievable transition from stuntman to leading star in Kickboxer Retaliation. Growing up, Alain was very active in sports and discovered jiu-jitsu at the age of 7. But it wasn't until he discovered the classic film Bloodsport starring Jean-Claude Van Damme that his passion was realized. Today, Alain discusses his latest starring role in Kickboxer Retaliation, the highly anticipated final installment in the new trilogy series. You can catch this film in select theaters around the United States or on all on-demand locations, including Amazon. Find out more about Alain at alainmoussi.com. Welcome to Savvy Business Radio. How are you today?
I'm doing great. You?
I'm doing fabulous. I'm so blessed to have you here today. You are coming here to chat about your newest film, which we're so excited to have you talk about, Kickboxer Retaliation. It's exciting. You have a whole history of being a stuntman as well as a martial artist, and you're going to share a little bit about your background and this exciting upcoming movie. Before we get into all those yummy details, share a little bit about your backstory.
Well, so as a kid, I saw my friend showed me the film Bloodsport, and I was about 10 years old when I saw Bloodsport. And as soon as I saw that, I was inspired by Jean-Claude Van Damme. He could kick, do the splits, and he's athletic and muscles. So that's inspired me to start training in martial arts. I was 10 years old. So before that, I grew up in Ottawa. My dad's Lebanese. My mom is from Montreal. I was born in Gabon in Africa. My dad was a math teacher, and that's why he was there. He was on a contract. And then we moved back to Canada after about 2.5 years. And I grew up in Ottawa from the age of 7. And when I started martial arts, I became obsessed. 10 years old. I had to be like Van Damme. And I had in the back of my mind this dream of becoming an action star like Van Damme and Schwarzenegger and Stallone.
Yeah.
So those were my idols growing up. Just from Ottawa, you just don't know how to do it, though. Like Ottawa in Canada, there's not much in terms of production and movies being shot. So it's more Montreal, Toronto, Vancouver in Canada. That's where the hot spots are. So, growing up, I just became obsessed with training. I wanted to kick high. So I started in Japanese jiu-jitsu, which was a combination of striking, self-defense techniques, some groundwork, throwing. So it's kind of a blend in martial art. And so I learned a lot. And around the age of 13, I started doing stage shows. So what we would do, we would design these fight scenes and we would perform on stage, me and my friends. And we would do that with our instructor, John Tarian, happened to be the founder of this international martial art. And every year they had a big convention. At the convention, they would put on the show and we would get a chance to perform. So that's how I started choreographing basic sequences, perform on stage. So I did that for years to the point where we became, me and my buddy, Robert Ladisser, we became kind of the head or the top of those demonstrations. We would end all the shows. We would close most shows by 1999 or 2000. And, at that time, I have a friend of mine who his name is Jean-François Lachapelle, became a stuntman in Montreal. And at the you have to get me in. And it was right after they shot 300 in Montreal. And at the time, there was nothing else being done. So he's like, dude, if I introduce you to somebody right now, there's no opportunities. It'll be wasted. So I was like, okay. So I kept on doing what I was doing, which is, I opened up my martial arts school called NX Martial Arts with my friend Stéphane Roy. And we started that. And I was teaching martial arts full time. Our school was very successful. And in the meantime, while we were operating the school, we started doing this online web series called NX Files. It was one of our students' idea. He saw us perform, said, you guys should have your own show. And I told John, like, what is it about? And he's like, all right, it's going to be about ninjas breaking in, and then you stop them, you fight them, and they run away, and that's your first episode. And I'm like, all right, John. He like, okay, I like the concept. What is it called? He said NX Files. It's like the X Files, but NX Martial Arts, so NX Files. That's what it's called. like, all right. So he asked me, when do you shoot? I'm like, okay, well, let's ask my friend Rob, who happened to be, good with the camera and editing. And I said, listen, let's start. So then we started doing this web show. We did like 20 episodes.
Nice.
It started from nothing and became this like cool independent project where I learned so much. I learned how to put a project together, how to get some basic funding, and how to put fight scenes together. I was a lead, so I was acting with my very limited acting experience. And, so anyways, we had fun with that until my friend JF called me and he said, listen, there's an opportunity to introduce you to Jean Frenette, a stunt coordinator in Montreal. And it would be the right time because they're about to shoot the movie Immortals. And Immortals is going to be like a big, period piece. And they need fighters. They need big guys, 6 feet and athletic. I'm like, okay, cool. So I go over to Montreal, meet Jean, audition for a stunt team. And he kept me in to start training. And about a few weeks later, after we had shot some concept fights, the stunt coordinator saw me. I was playing the hero in the concept fights.
Yeah. And
I happened to be a great match for Henry Cavill. And so the stunt coordinator said, listen, is this guy in the union? Can you work? And Jean said, no, not yet. But I mean, he's definitely got skills to do it. And I think, he's probably our best choice. So finally, when they announced who was going to be in the core team, they announced 11 people. There was the 12th spot left. So I was kind of like, whatever. Next time I can keep on training. It's good. And finally they say Alain Moussi to double Henry Cavill. And that was my first stunt job, was to double Henry Cavill.
Wow.
And that's how I got into stunt work. Yeah. So it was funny because it was all through martial arts. Martial arts kind of like was the anchor, right? For me, everything I've done had to do with martial arts. All the opportunities I've had presented to me came like mainly from people that I met through martial arts training. So martial arts has always been that core anchor for me.
Wow. And it's interesting because these are not all the same, but all have that underlining core, which is martial arts. Now, was it different? Because I heard that you said you opened a martial arts school. Teaching, is that different from Stuntman? And then when I hear you choreograph, is that like doing martial arts, or are you just kind of going through the moves, pretend, is it a pretend fight? Like, what are the differences between each of the things you've done? Because it's not all exactly the same. What have you learned in each of those?
First of all, like as a martial artist, I mean, training. I developed a love for training. That was number one. Then I trained with great teachers who taught me how to really teach properly, which is great. So my whole thing was I wanted to become a martial arts teacher. I thought that was the coolest thing. That was my hero. Those were my heroes at the time. And then coaching. When I first started coaching, I coached kids. I coached fighters. I coached like a whole bunch of people, and allowed me to develop great communication skills and an ability to break things down to help people improve and develop skills faster. And that was my whole thing. I love to be able to take somebody from point A to point B in the shortest time period. So teaching gave me that. And actually I applied it later on when I happened to have to coach some actors. While I was a stuntman, sometimes, when you double, you have to coach your actor into performing certain moves and certain sequences. So my background as a teacher, as a martial arts teacher, has helped me tremendously to be able to do that. It can break things down for them. So that itself is a skill, like to teach, to understand how to teach, to become a very proficient teacher. That's a skill on its own. Then to choreograph is different. So when we choreograph the fight sequence, what we have story, we have characters, we have context. And then we have to choose the appropriate martial arts or fight moves that go with the story. Obviously, if it's like in Two Cowboys, I won't make them do spin kicks. You know what I mean? So unless it's like Shanghai Noon, that's different. But, but in terms of understanding what to do, you have to have a huge background in martial arts to be able to have the proper moves and be able to put them to context within a story and with characters. So I learned how to do that with my team, On-Set Stunts in Montreal. And that itself, again, is a skill. A good fight designer knows how to do that, will not put things that shouldn't be there in a fight sequence,
Absolutely.
So it's, all those things are very different. But again, I feel like even to the point where I'm now with KICKBOXER Retaliation, our film, I was part of the design team. We had a team in Montreal and Ottawa. We had a team in Thailand, a great stunt team in Thailand that was choreographing at the same time. What I did, I took some of the stuff we did here, some of the stuff we did from Thailand, and I blended them together to pick the best of everything, and put them in fight sequences. So that I had to know how to design to make sure that will work. And then comes performing. Performing is all about training, the martial arts skills that you develop over time. And then later on in the editing room, again, that's a totally different skill. And actually, while performing, the other thing I do is I end up teaching whoever I'm fighting with how to do the moves they have to do. You know what I mean? So it's like, I feel like now every single skill I've picked up over years of martial arts training, teaching, traveling, have kind of all come together to help me do what I'm doing now.
Isn't that interesting the way that happens? You never realize. As a kid, my mom used to say, "You're a jack of all trades." You know, I wanted to play the violin, the bass, the opera. My mom's like, "Pick something and go with that." And now, you know, I can see how all those things have helped me in what I'm doing now in my life. And I think that's the same with what you're talking about right now. All the bits have added up to make you really good at what you're doing right now as an actor. And how does that work out when you move to acting? Because acting is not the same. You said beforehand when you were doing performing, you had to brush up on your acting. How did you learn to act?
When my first opportunity came in 2011, our producer and director, Dimitri Logothetis, was doing a martial arts film in Montreal. Our stunt team was doing the stunts for that movie. We presented all the fight scenes in a live show. At the end of the show, he came over, met me, talked to me for about 5 minutes. Today, he kind of says, I wanted to check if Alain could speak English. It was in Montreal. So he talked to me for 5 minutes, and the next day I got a call from casting, asked me to audition for this lead role in his film because he hadn't cast it yet. And he really wanted to do martial arts authentically. So I'm like, I did high school drama at that point, and I did like my independent stuff, and that was my acting experience. A few workshops, maybe. That was my acting experience, which was, you know, in my mind, nothing. So, you know, I asked a friend who was an actor, Jason, he helped me out for 3 days in audition. And at the end of the audition, they said, okay, great, thank you. And next day I get a call from Dimitri or from his office saying he wanted to meet me. So I meet with him, and he says, Alain, listen, I want to relaunch the martial arts genre, and I want to do that in an authentic way with someone who can actually do all the martial arts for real, because that's the way it needs to be done. So how do you feel about doing a few movies with me? I'm like, whoa. Yes.
No problem.
Right away, it was yes. Yeah, and like contract, I didn't care. It was like, yes. Let's start with that, and then we'll deal with everything else later on. Now, obviously, at that point, you think, at some point, I will have to talk in this movie. So something must be done. So at that point, I started training my acting. I started training like crazy. So right before we actually did KICKBOXER, for 5 months, I was with a coach. And I started training, you know, just to be able to have some basic skills. And the idea from Dimitri was he wanted me to be as natural as possible. And with time, I would grow and improve and gain experience. So the way I saw it as martial arts training. I think anything you learn, you need different components. Like you need a good coach, obviously, to show you the way and help guide you. Then you need reps. It's like anything else. If you go in and you do, you know, your session or whatever you do, but you don't work on things on your own. You don't actually go down and you know, do the nitty gritty work.
Yeah.
It's not going to come. Nothing comes. You know what I mean? It's, to me, I said, okay, so I got a coach. I'm going to learn things. Then I'm going to go home and I'm going to practice and train and go back to my coach. And then he's going to see what I'm doing right, what I'm doing wrong. He's going to give me tips. I'm going to go back and train. So that's kind of my mentality. Just like training a new kick, training a new throw. This was about training the craft of acting. So I kind of broke it down in a way where I'm going to train it just like I would any other martial arts that I've done. And then that's how I'm going to improve. Now, when I'm on set, that's going to be like competing, you know? So I go in, I compete. I'm going to compete with Dave Bautista and with Jean-Claude Van Damme, and I'm competing with these guys. In my mind, when I say competing, what I mean is when you compete, people that way. I say you learn. Or you win and you learn. So then to me, every time that you compete, it's like having an extra 3-4 months of training, because you learn so much about yourself and so much about your strengths and your weaknesses. So that was my approach to acting. So after the first film, our first KICKBOXER film, obviously things I think I did really great, things I did not so great. And I look at it and I'm like, all right, that was cool. That was a great first experience. And I learned so much from it. So how do I take that and come in with a second film and be better, be more confident? And so I went back to coaching and worked. And then that's how I approach acting now. And I love it. I enjoy it so much, and I enjoy the journey.
Wow. And I'm pulling so much from this. I think anyone, no matter what your business is or what you're doing in life, can be added. I've heard so many people go about, I'm going to have a speaking career, and they go up there and get this gig to speak, but they haven't actually rehearsed or gone about doing the necessary training and practice. And yeah, you can do that. But what I like is you pulled together what you got in martial arts, which is the constant training, taking a move and saying, where am I going to go with this? I'm going to actually train this like I'm in the studio doing martial arts. And then I'm going to go out there once I've completed and learned what I have to learn. The actual performance or actual movie or set is now my time to shine and put everything together I've been practicing and learning.
Exactly. Yeah. Absolutely. That's exactly it right there. And it's funny because, like going back to my background before, like just teaching, and that means like I've taught in Europe, in the US, and Canada at times. I've done seminars in a country where they don't understand the language. Like I went to Austria and I would teach kids who don't speak English, and I have to teach them for an hour and a half to keep their attention without knowing German. So it's all about, the movement and what you do, the expressions. And so in a way, all that stuff, all those experiences helped me. The fact that I was speaking all the time teaching, that helped me a lot. Communication skills helped me in the acting department. So again, I think that sometimes I say, I wish I would have got into this 10 years earlier. But at the same time, I feel like, I'm a big believer in destiny and timing. So had I got into it 10 years earlier, maybe I wouldn't have all the skills that I picked up over 10 years before I got into it. So maybe it was supposed to be that way,
Absolutely. Now, Alain, tell me, when you're working with people, you said sometimes you help the choreography and help the actors to do some moves. Do you feel like anyone can learn this martial arts, even if they've not had all the training you've had? Has it been hard for your co-stars and actors to learn the martial arts that you teach them?
Well, most of the people I've worked on with KICKBOXER have some kind of fight skill, or physical skill. So actually in the Retaliation, Hafthor Bjornsson, who plays the Mountain in Game of Thrones. So Hafthor is a lifter. He's got like some basic sword skills he used in Game of Thrones in his fight there. But in terms of fight skills for a full fight and a full boss fight in a martial arts film, not necessarily. So I think for me, it's when I have something like somebody like that, it's about knowing how to break things down and communicate the moves to them in a way they'll understand. And that comes with experience. I've taught so many people that had no martial arts training how to do these basic moves in 30 minutes.
Wow.
But the thing is, like, it's you don't have to go back necessarily to. It's not like learning a full martial arts where you start with the basics, and then you have to learn and go up. You have to understand body mechanics and what body mechanics they need to have in order to perform the actual maneuvers they have to perform. They don't have to learn everything. They have to learn that thing. So when you understand how to break that down, that works.
Yeah, I like that you mentioned that, because it's like, if you had to start from ground zero, I just saw, oh gosh, it was Kung Fu. I saw this 7-year-old master of Kung Fu black belt that, hey, I joked with my partner, I want her to be my bodyguard. I mean, he probably got started at 4 years old. Yeah, and if you're going to be an actor on a set, you've not had all that training since 4 or 7 or 10 to be at that level, but you can actually show them what they need to know for today, right here, right now.
Exactly. Yeah. And that's how I break it down for people on set. And even with other actors that I was, we on big blockbusters, obviously we have a lot of rehearsal time. But even then, like, whenever I had, whether it's training Travis Fimmel on Warcraft, or we did some sessions with, actually Margot Robbie had to learn this, like maneuver for Suicide Squad, where she twists around somebody's head. That was actually a move that had been performing for a long time. So again, I showed her stunt double, Ingrid, how to do the basic thing. And then she got it really quick. She's very athletic, but you don't know how Margot's going to get it. Margot's really great, a great performer, actually. She's very athletic and learns very quickly And then we broke it down for Margot, and same thing, coaching her was about not coaching everything all the training, years of training that comes to that, but how to break that maneuver down in a way she'll understand, and she understands the body mechanics she needs to have in order to perform it. And, we did it, and she looked amazing, and she actually did in the movie herself. It was great.
Wow. Yeah. And I saw a number of trailers and excerpts of your movie Kickboxer Retaliation, and the people are amazing. All of your co-stars, the fighting co-stars, are amazing. I could tell that if they don't have any martial arts skills, they certainly look like it, and they definitely have athletic ability. It looks like an super exciting film. Where do you see yourself going after this film? Where do you see yourself 5 years from now?
Well, right now, actually, so we have Kickboxer was always meant to be a trilogy. Our next film is Kickboxer 3. We start shooting next month. We're shooting Kickboxer 3. And that'll put an end to this first trilogy of Kickboxer. Then Dimitri's got another franchise or another film he wants to start called Jiu-Jitsu. And that's an original concept. It's a action, sci-fi, martial arts film. It's going to be like a cross between Bourne Identity and Predator type thing. Anyways, it's very exciting. It's a very cool concept. It's a cool script. So that's our next project. We're going to attack in the fall. But you know what? To me, like I've always looked, sky's the limit. Like it's all about, I every time I achieve a goal, I set a new one. That's enough I learned through martial arts. I mean, how to set goals and then break things down in short-term goals to get to that long-term goal. So definitely, I love making movies. I love acting. My goal is to keep on improving, as I go. And actually, you see, I totally understand where I am in the industry, which is in action. I live in action and martial arts action. So action films is what I'm passionate about. So would I venture out in other genres? Possibly down the line. Not right now, though. I love doing action. I think that, you create an audience for yourself. And at that point, like if you have an audience, you want to feed that audience, you want to give them what they love and what you're good at. And to me, what I love and what I'm good at is action, and definitely love action comedy, and which I love the fact that Dimitri puts comedy in our films, which is great. But that's where I see myself going, and you never know, I'm going to put it out there because right now they're looking for an actor to play Nightwing, and Nightwing is I don't know if you watch superhero movies, but he's in the Batman world in the DCU, and the director Chris McKay has talked about having a real martial artist do the role, and put him in through a boot camp. And I'm like, you know what? The only way to do that, if you really want to do it, you got to call me. That's it.
That's it.
I was going to say all I want to do for the next 5 years is keep on making cool movies, have fun doing it, and deliver fun entertainment that people love to watch. That's what I want to do.
Absolutely. And I know you're doing that because I've seen the scenes. I'm excited to go see the movie. And when you mentioned sci-fi, that's one of my absolute favorite genres. So you're going to mix two, action and sci-fi. Can't wait to see that as well. Now, besides Van Damme, has there been anyone else in the martial arts industry that's really inspired you as well?
Oh, yeah. My dad introduced me to Bruce Lee right away after I got into martial arts. He was a huge Bruce Lee fan. So we've been watching the Bruce Lee movies together for a long time. And then Jackie Chan. I discovered Jackie Chan a little later. And that's the whole stunt thing. That was Jackie Chan. I was like, oh, my God, this guy's nuts. And I want to be as nuts as he is. You know what I mean? It's great. So I went through, after Van Damme, there was like obviously Stallone and Schwarzenegger. That kind of, those three I've been following since I was a kid. Then I got into Steven Seagal for a little while. I got into Wesley Snipes movies. I love like Passenger 57 and the Blade series, like a lot of Wesley Snipes movies. So I followed a lot of those guys throughout my life. I'm just a huge fan of action. I find action movies for, you can put yourself, especially when you feel like that person is actually doing everything. That was a huge part of it for those action stars. It just felt like the way you saw it, they were doing it, they were there and they were doing it. So it's like, it was cool. And you wanted to be the dude. It's a little different today, like for a guy, like I'm talking from a guy's perspective. Like when I was a kid, I wanted to be that dude. I didn't want to be whoever character they were playing. I didn't care that. I don't want to be Rocky. I want to be Stallone. I didn't want to be like Chance Boudreau. I want to be Van Damme. You know what I mean? Or Kurt Sloan. today, I feel like with a lot of, again, superhero movies, that kind of stuff, you don't necessarily want to be the man. You want to be the character. You want to be Batman or you want to be Superman, but you don't actually want to be the guy playing that character.
That's
but I
sad,
do want to
though.
be Statham.
That's kind of sad because it's kind of like people have kind of separated and seen that, okay, I don't want to be the man, I want to be the superhero. But the superhero is not real, but the man is.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But I think it's the type of movies they're making. The type of movies are very different and they're not as grounded in certain realities, you know? Whereas you watch Jason Statham or Dwayne Johnson, you want to be the dudes. Forget about whoever they're playing. I want to be that guy is too cool for school. I want to be that dude. You know? So
yeah, and
that's who I hope. That's who I hope to become. That's exactly the kind of actor I want to be.
That's awesome. And what inspires me, I've been inspired by Jackie Chan, by Bruce Lee myself. Now, my wish inside is to study Kendo, Japanese sword fighting. I find that to be the most beautiful form of martial arts. But like you mentioned in the beginning of the interview, it's something you have to decide that I'm going to devote my time to. But what would you say to someone, maybe a kid that comes to watch your movie that says, hey, I want to be that person someday? What would be your advice to them?
I would research the type of martial arts you want to do, number one. If you love Kendo, if that's what you're passionate about, perfect. You research who's doing it. You go visit the club. You meet the instructors. You tell them about your goals and what you'd like to do. And when you start, as much as you want to go all out and say, I'm going to do this 7 days a week, start with once or twice. Really be reasonable. It's like any type of exercise program, any type of training program. I think, when we're excited, we tend to want to go overboard. And sometimes that has the opposite effect of what we want, because then, you go for your first classes, you're kind of sore, you're tired, and it's not always as easy as we want it to be. Not that you want it to be easy, but I guess to go into something progressively, to me, is always better. It's always you're always more successful, and you got to celebrate those small successes. So somebody that would be training, if they say, because I've seen a lot of people come in and after they saw UFC and they're like, I want to do MMA. And I'm like, okay. So then I'm going to do it 6 times a week. I'm like, okay, so let's try. And then after 2 days, they're like, oh, I'm so sore. I don't want to move. And then they get discouraged. And that's when they're like, oh, I don't know if this is for me. I don't know if I might be too old, or I might be too young, or I might be too tired. I don't know. I feel like if you go into it and you say, I'm going to start with 2 sessions a week on a regular schedule, and that's it. Once you accomplish that and that you build a routine, then you add some extras. Then you go for 3. Then you go for 4 if you want. That's fine. But as long as you establish this routine of training and make it part of your lifestyle, once that's established, I think that it's so much easier to pursue that kind of training.
Yeah, I love that you mentioned that, Alain, because I think for myself too, last year I started changing my lifestyle, first eating and then working out. And at first, when I was super tired, eating poorly, there's no way I could even imagine going to the gym once, let alone a couple times a week. It's the same thing, I guess, with anyone out there just excited about martial arts at any age. Just pick up where you're at and start small, 1-2 days, so that you get into your routine, get into your habits of being an everyday thing, and then add more.
Absolutely.
Yeah, makes sense. Well, I'm so excited about this. I cannot wait for people to go check out KICKBOXER Retaliation. And this is at all theaters right now. When is this airing?
So right now it's in theaters, in some select theaters in the U.S. It's out in Canada, U.S., the U.K., on iTunes and VOD. So you can go on iTunes right now and get it on Google Play or on other video on demand outlets. And then so you can get it right away. Everybody can watch it right now.
Oh, that's awesome. So if they can watch it in the comforts of their own home, even if they want. Awesome. Yeah.
That's it. Exactly. Get that popcorn, take a bottle of wine or a beer, and boom, there you go. You got it. You got your night. Yeah.
I have to thank you again. This has been a wonderful conversation. Thank you for sharing your gifts and wisdom today on Savvy Business Radio.
Thank you so much for the opportunity. Listen, if anybody wants to follow, I'm on Instagram, on Facebook, on Twitter. I'm very, I put a lot of stuff on Instagram, fun stuff, behind the scenes and training stuff. Anyways, I'm always having fun on social media. So definitely go and follow me at Alain Moussi, and you'll get all the tidbits of what's coming.
Yeah, thank you so much for coming to share your great wisdom today. Have a great day.
Savvy Business Radio broadcasts worldwide via a large podcast network, celebrating business owners, entrepreneurs, influencers, and successful individuals. Find out about our paid sponsorship opportunities or how to become a guest. Call 732-474-7375 or email Christina@savvybusinessradio.com.